Hello everyone, and thank you for joining this month for Tiger Talk. Joined this month with a couple teachers from the high school. You can see by our shirts, we're talking about Tiger Cafe today and just some really cool experiences we have for some of our high school kids. So Carrie Loft and Nicole Jans are with me today. We're going to get to talking about that in just a minute, but before we do that, I want to share some general updates about things just kind of taking place in the district. It's been a really busy month as we're wrapping up that first semester, getting started with the next round. We had some crazy cold weather that kind of hit and threw everything for a bit of a loop, but a lot of really good things taking place in all the schools. I want to share some updates with you. First thing, we'll talk about Parkside a little bit. Our positive behavior interventions and supports model at Parkside, which is known as Tiger Pride, has made significant impact on student behavior and overall school structure since its implementation. By emphasizing prevention and positive reinforcement, that program has effectively reclaimed valuable instructional time. So really what's happening there is we're looking at our expected behaviors and what we need kids to do, and we reinforce the positive things that are happening. Teach them, here's what we expect, for example, in the hallway, and here's how that works. And then when students are following that, we're recognizing what's positive in an attempt to avoid the negative behaviors, and that's working really well. We have some teachers that are called our social emotional teachers, or SEL teachers you might hear your child talk about. They really play a vital role in making that take place, and we've got those teachers at our elementary schools and our middle school. We're also excited to announce that Ties and Tiaras, that it's an annual father-daughter dance that takes place at Parkside. That is scheduled for February 21st at 6:30 in the afternoon or 6:30 in the evening. Anyone who's interested in registering for that can call Community Services and sign up. Maybe you two have already signed up or got your husband signed up to bring your daughters. Might be too old for Ties and Tiaras, but that's a fun event. They've done that for a number of years and look forward to having that event again this year. At all of our schools, we're doing mid-year testing. So we do some benchmark testing and just kind of, it's checking in how are students doing. We did some fall testing when they first got with us this fall. Mid-year, we look at where are we doing now. We use that results of those assessments to determine if our interventions that are in place are working, or if we need to make some adjustments, looking at what kind of instruction, or if there's some enrichment that needs to happen. At elementary schools, DIBELS is a test that we're using, so you might hear your child talking about that. That data really helps monitor student growth and really tells us do we have the right things in place for the kids. We also are doing NWA testing. That happens in grades 2 through 12 for certain kids in the high school. We're still using NWA testing and looking at just, again, that student progress and making sure we have the right instructional methods in place and intervention models in place for all of the students. Middle school is really excited about wrapping up that first semester. They've been gathering some data. We've talked in the past on this show about BAR, some different ways we use to look at assessment and measuring student growth. Middle school is really getting going with that in earnest this year. And some of the data they've collected is really exciting for them. We've seen higher levels of staff and student morale when they measure that. Also looking at behavior. So we have the level behaviors at the middle school, levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. 3 and 4 are the bigger behaviors. And we're seeing really significantly reduced behaviors in those levels 3 and 4. Increased staff supervision and administrative presence have been a big piece of that, as they've talked about what behaviors they're seeing, where they're seeing it, and how they're addressing that. We have seen a little uptick in the level 1 and 2 behaviors at the middle school, so that's something that we'll continue to look at going forward for the rest of this year. And then daily attendance. That's something that you're going to hear us talking about more at all of the school sites as we're talking about student success, and what's a good indicator of student success is student attendance. We need to have them in school so we can make sure that they're making that progress we need to see. So we're measuring that and talking a lot more about it internally, so you're going to hear us talk about it more on like this and at board meetings and that sort of thing. It's a measure we're going to do, some communications out to parents about that. One measure you're going to hear us talk about in middle school talks about this month is the percentage of students who are chronically absent. So looking at how much school they're missing. There's a federal level of how much school they've missed, and if they're identified as that, and then just having more conversations. So if your child is in that range or hitting that level, we're going to reach out and start some communication saying, hey, what's going on and what can we do to help address this and get all of our kids in school. Additionally, at the middle school, another thing that they're looking at is number of missing assignments. And we're finding some numbers there and some things that we want to address, so some additional communication around that. Another data piece that we've had that we just haven't looked at a lot at the middle school. High school parents, you hear a lot about missing assignments. We get emails from, I know from my own children, I get an email if there's a missing assignment, and middle school is doing some different looks at that and talking about how we can address those pieces, all in a measure of increasing student success overall. Middle of the year means that we're getting close to starting to think about planning for next year. At the high school, the first big step of that is the registration process. So registration book is being assembled right now. Teachers, each department is going through their own section, looking at the courses they offer, what those course descriptions are, and talking about what that's going to look like for future years. They get that book all put together. Students will have that in their hands soon. They start reviewing, and we've already started to schedule meetings at the middle school with our incoming 9th graders for next year, and then with all the high school kids, registration will happen in February. At the BAR program at the high school as well, they're also looking at student data there. We've been using this program longer there. Traditionally, we talk a lot about the percentage of students passing classes at the high school. Well, that's still a measure we're looking at. The student attendance, again, is a piece we're looking at there. Really monitoring that weekly attendance and focusing on students who are chronically absent, which is 10% or more of the school day, but also looking at that 25% or more as another level that measuring and talking about how can we address that and making sure those students aren't missing something we need to have them in school. At our CTI center, we have autos and manufacturing courses out there. Those students are really thriving. We've had a really good semester. We just wrapped up everything with that first semester classes. We have a new CNC mill that we ordered. It's being assembled, and that's going to enhance the manufacturing program where we can start exposing students to the machining industry. Also, a CNC plasma table has been ordered for that site. That's going to be arriving. We had some grants where we could buy these additional pieces of equipment and expand the programming. At that CTI center, we're transitioning to becoming a manufacturing hub. That means we have a goal of a student-driven business where they're going to create products and we can sell those products and have those available for community members. So some of the things that we've talked about to start with, we'll start making some trailers. So the students have started assembling some of those. And another thing that they'll be creating with these new equipment is some fire pits where they can use the plasma cutter and cut some designs in and create these fire pits and have available. So really excited about some of those expanded programs, kind of in line with the thing we're going to talk about with the Tiger Cafe later, just these projects for students. We're preparing them. We talk about our mission, preparing them for success, and that means work for a lot of kids, and what does that look like, and what are some things we can do. So that's happening. Also at the CTI Center, we have our CNA programming, so our nursing program. They recently did some clinicals. We partnered with a Dawson nursing home who let us come in, and students got some hands-on experience in nursing at that program. Happened just around the holiday time, and now they have graduated, got some new CNAs that are licensed and out in the workforce, and we've got a whole other class starting in that program there. Something I want to highlight with our elementary classrooms, Pride in the Tiger Foundation participated in the Christmas tree walk that was downtown at the museum this winter. We had some elementary classrooms that participated by creating decorations and tree toppers and such for that. Some other elementary students were writing thank you notes and making calm down sensory bottles. So students at the elementary level, we're going to talk with Nicole about some things high school kids are doing. This is some things some of our elementary kids are doing too, just making those connections with community and something out in the community that their families could come and see and participate in. So that was a fun project this winter there. Families and high school aged high school students of the American Indian students, they have received information from the district about SMSU event, It Begins With Us. This features Dr. Anton Trower. He is a Native American author and professor of Ojibwe at Bemidji State University. Our APAC group is supporting these families and students who would like to register for that event. So families that are interested, some information came out, they can register, and that APAC group will help support them coming to that. Activities are always an exciting spot for Marshall Public Schools. This winter is no exception. Our winter activities teams are doing very well. A couple things I want to highlight. The Marshall boys basketball, we hosted a Hoops Invitational Showcase over the holiday break that featured 24 games across SMSU and high school facilities. A really busy event, lots of teams in town. It was very successful. We celebrated not only basketball, but like our speech team got to come and participate. They ran concessions and they earned money to fund their trip to Harvard. We want to say a big thank you to everyone that helped make that event successful. I know it's something that schools look forward to, and just a good event for our students. We are excited. We look at registrations within our activities programs. We had a 6% increase in registrations for winter activities looking at this year compared to last year, so a lot more kids involved. A couple other things, our Marshall gymnastics team recently hosted annual Winterfest Gymnastics Invite, where we welcomed several of the Big South teams to participate. We celebrated athleticism and sportsmanship while the high school dance placed second at Big South last week. The team also continues to grow and achieve higher scores at each competition. The dance team also performed at a boys basketball game recently. That was fun for the fans to get to see. So sometimes fans that might not get to go see dance typically got to see them at a basketball game this year. Other winter sports teams having really good season include the wrestling, girls hockey, boys basketball, girls basketball. They're all ranked in the top 10, testament to hard work, talent, and dedication. And we also want to call out specifically our 9th grade wrestling team. They made it to a state event in Mora where they were the state runners-up recently. So that was a big achievement for that team. Also don't want to move on without talking about Coach Cassie Weiss. She recently had her 100th career win. Big achievement for Cassie, for Coach Weiss. Congratulations to her and that whole program. Some big things happening there. You were probably at that game.
I was, yes, of course.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So Carrie participates a lot with our hockey and helps out with those events, and certainly that team has been very successful this year again. So
good to see.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so I'm going to start with you two. Let's talk a little bit about, just introduce yourselves first. So Carrie, you've been with the district a number of years, but maybe just if someone doesn't know who you are, introduce who you are and what you do with the district.
Sure. My name is Carrie Loft, and I'm an EL teacher, English language learner teacher. I've been teaching in Marshall for about 13 years, and recently we've started the PAYS Lab, and so I've been kind of in charge of that for the last 2 years, and now a big part of Tiger Cafe.
Yeah, awesome.
Yes.
And Nicole?
My name is Nicole Jans. I've also been at the district 13 years. Carrie and I started the same year. And I'm a special education teacher. I primarily work with 11th and 12th grade students. And we are really focusing on transition skills. So I teach some language arts classes, and then I end my day focusing on transition skills where I work with kids at the Tiger Cafe and then also at SMSU, which we'll talk a little more about.
Talk about some of those things. So,
perfect.
We talk about these programs. We talk a lot on Tiger Talk about our CTE programming and how we're preparing kids for success. I mentioned earlier that's our mission statement for the district, and you guys have really dug in and done some great things for students. We want to create opportunities for all of our students, and we look historically in the district. We've offered some really good programs for those like top of the class ranked students who can go out and do some career internships or do some job shadows or have some opportunities with employers in town. But there was a big group of students that maybe weren't getting to participate in some of these activities. So I'm very impressed with the work you guys have done to pull in some other kids, because we have all of our kids we want to prepare for what comes after high school. For some it might be a 4-year college, for some it might be a 2-year college, and for some it's going into the workforce. So the only way they can know which is the right path is if we teach them what are some opportunities, what things exist. So these job skills, you talk about transition skills, we talk about those at special ed all the time.
Exactly.
But what does that really look like? What does that really feel like? And how can we expose kids to some actual employment things? So I know, Carrie, you talked at the board meeting the other night about for a student who maybe doesn't have another job after school because they've got so many other things going on, here's a way they can have a job that can be part of the school, they get some credit for it, and learn those real work skills at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. So excited about that. So let's talk, first of all, how would a student get selected to be part of one of these programs?
Yeah, I can speak in the special ed world. A student has specific needs that are identified in the evaluation. And so the students that participate in the SMSU Work Experience and Tiger Cafe have some identified need through the IEP process of a transition or employability skills on their IEP and goals surrounding that. And so we use the Tiger Cafe and the SMSU Work Experience to kind of provide that education and training towards those goal areas.
Sure. And for EL families?
So for my English learners, if they are in 12th grade and have kind of come to the country late and are a little bit, the ability to graduate on time, it's just going to take a long time. Those students come with me to the PAYS Lab, and we work on all the job skills that the PAYS Lab has to offer. So those are normally seniors. Their English level is growing, but they're not an advanced student yet. And then for the Tiger Cafe, right now the students that are working with me are higher beginner students, can have good communication with the teachers and the customers who come. And so that's any age, but they're higher beginners.
Yeah. So a lot of different things, and really it's targeting kids to the best fit for them. We talked earlier about assessment and what interventions are best for academics, but it's beyond academics. I mean, really we get to high school, especially as juniors and seniors, you're exactly right, Carrie. We're looking at what is the next step for this student, how we can help it, because we get students that to get the 30 and a half required credits for graduation might not be the path that happens for some of our kids.
Right.
So then how do we prepare them for what that next step is for them? And these are some great examples. So let's talk specifically about Pays Lab first of all. I think you both participate in that. Carrie, you said you kind of help organize that. Talk a bit first about what is it, where is it, and then how does that work? And then my follow-up question to it's going to be what skills are we teaching in there?
Okay.
It's a lot of questions in one
Yep.
spot.
So the Pays Lab is located at Marshall Middle School, and currently the 8th graders are all going through the Pays Lab, learning all the same skills the English learners are learning. And so some of the jobs that are the main jobs are business, so they're working maybe secretarial kind of duties, alphabetizing, mail responsibilities, construction. Students learn how to build a bookshelf. They can learn to wire a light bulb, wire a whole plug-in. Then we have a consumer. We have a small kitchen where students are making different foods, learning how to set a table. Then we have, I'm going to forget one.
I know you showed some mannequins where they were doing hair.
Sure.
Yep.
And give me 1 second.
Okay.
Process and
Processing.
production.
Yep.
So, especially in Marshall, we have a lot of production kind of jobs. So my students will, put certain things together in a certain order, and they have to do it quickly and accurately. So we check on those. So yes, in addition, I want to shout out to Erica Hess. She's been doing a great job at the Pays Lab. She runs the Pays Lab for the 8th graders, and she's brought in mannequins to do hair. We have a nail studio, a bike repair, and she has more coming. So I really want to say thanks to her, because the 8th graders are having a great experience, and my EL learners are having a great experience as well.
Yeah. So when we found this Pays Lab, some other schools had talked about how they use it for a very select number of students, and we talked about how this is really, when I explain it to people, I can't tell you what Pays stands for because I never remember, but it's like this very, it's a careers class where it's very much, let's talk about different types of careers that exist, and then it's the skills-based things. You talk about those different areas, so I know when you walk in the room, I see, maybe 5 areas, whatever it is on the wall. The kids, whichever one they're working on, then they have like a task card, they pull it out, you talk about those very specific, it has to be accurate, it has to be in the right order, it has to meet the criteria. And I come in there and I watch these kids, everybody is busy doing something, whether whoever class I walk into, they are on task, they're doing it, they put their hand up, whatever, and you come over and I think what's hard as a teacher is we're looking at it, no, that's not right. And then they have to figure it out, because you're not showing them, here, let me take that and show you how to do that. You need to figure this out like a real job is going to be. A real job. I don't come in your classrooms and tell you, here's what I need you to do. Right. Yeah. You figure it out. It's those real life job skills. So it runs like an employment.
Right. Yep. Yes. I am their supervisor.
The boss.
They call me supervisor. They are my employees.
Yeah.
They are supposed to be doing the job.
They clock in and out.
Yep. It's like a real job experience for them. And they really enjoy it.
They do. And then they learn so many different things. They try that one, maybe they don't like that one, then there's something else the next day. And yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Good.
Nicole, let's talk a little bit about Tiger Cafe too. So Pays Lab is one piece. The Tiger Cafe, that's another big piece. So talk a little bit about what that is, how a student might get in that, and how that works.
I actually think the Pays Lab kind of inspired us to grow, because the Pays Lab gave us this taste. Our 11th grade special education students are also accessing Pays Lab. And so we got to the point where that was a really cool experience for those 11th graders. But then what's next for the 12th grade, because they're even closer to entering the workforce. So we really started thinking as a special ed team, what else can we do for our students to get them prepared for real life job experiences? Because I think it's really easy in the classroom to talk about good work behaviors and how to do jobs, but those skills are harder to apply in a real life setting. So Gretchen Stelter and I, a coworker of mine, applied for a LIFT grant. And so we worked with, the LIFT grant partners with the business. So we contacted some people from Mainstay Cafe, partnered, they are our business representative for that first year of the LIFT grant. And we got the LIFT grant and were able to purchase all the equipment to start up the Tiger Cafe. And what it is the students, so every day that we have Tiger Cafe, the night before we send out a link to all of our teachers, and the teachers can place an order. We have all kinds of different fruit smoothies, we have frappes, we have lattes. We have, we've added some cookies and churros, and so it's really grown and expanded. So when that order comes in, it gets printed onto a label. The students come in, and each day the students have a different job. So they might be a barista one day, they might do dishwashing, they might do delivery. So there's various jobs throughout the Tiger Cafe that they're performing. So they come in, they read the labels, and then they have to figure out, okay, this is what we need, this is where it needs to go. And they're really running a coffee shop within our school. And it's been super fun. So we got this started last year. Last October is kind of when we did our opening of it, and it was so fun and like such a great experience. It was kind of exactly what we wanted these kids to be working on. It was the skills that like we couldn't just teach in the classroom. It was the application of them, and so I was like, we need to do more than just a special ed class. And so we got Carrie on board and her EL kids joined. So right now we're doing 2 days a week. We have Carrie's EL students in the morning, and then 2 days a week, my end of the day class, Block 4, runs it. And the teachers have been awesome. They've been really supportive of ordering and utilizing, and lots of positive feedback. So it's been really cool.
So just to clarify a little bit, we talk about this being open, but it's like community members don't come, and
not
even our
open to
students can't
teachers.
come by.
No.
We have to quantify, like there's only so many we can make, and
exactly.
we're teaching all these job skills at the same time.
Open to teachers. We send this order link to all staff in the building. So our secretaries, our janitors, our paraprofessionals, and teachers all get it. So they get the link, and then,
it's probably limited. As many orders as you can handle.
And it actually, I mean, there's days we're busy for that whole 90-minute period, which is really awesome. So.
And we talk about job skills. Those are real life job skills you can take and apply to another food service or other places in town too. But I think anytime with any of our CTE program, we meet with business owners in town and we talk about what's the skills we need to teach our kids in high school. The answer is always this first thing is soft skills. You have to learn these basics to work, and that's exactly what you guys are doing with this. Is they're learning those basics you could transfer to any other employment.
And I think that's what we really do see. We talk about our kids just taking initiative in ways like, again, you can talk about what initiative is in a classroom setting, but when you're on the job, it's different. So we have a busy day, in the cafe, and there's kids that are like, okay, you look really busy, let me help you with that, and then, go back to my job. And just kids like figuring out how to manage time and take initiative and work with one another. It's been a really positive experience.
So how do you guys work with your students to transfer those skills from that very controlled setting to a real world setting?
It's a good question. I think we all have some classroom time. I have 1 day a week that's classroom time that we build in, and that's the day I bring up those conversations of here's what I'm seeing in the Tiger Cafe or at the SMSU work experience. And then we kind of just discuss those situations and figure out how would this work in a job. Okay, so I saw you do this behavior in Tiger Cafe or this thing. How would that work if you were on a job, at this place? And so it's a good way to transfer that way.
So I'm sure, in either one of those settings, the Pays Lab or the Tiger Cafe, it operates like a business. Kids are still going to see you as a teacher in that setting. So another opportunity that we have for students is we partner with SMSU and with Chartwells and some food service there. So I want to talk a little bit about that and what that looks like and how that is maybe kind of a next step, because now there's another employer maybe involved. So
So my same students that are operating the Tiger Cafe, they 2 days a week go over to SMSU, and we've been working. This just started last year. We work with Chartwells in the dining center, and the students are able to do a variety of jobs jobs within that area. So we have people working in the dish room. We have people in the dining room. We have people doing food prep. We have people, filling the napkins or sanitizing the salt and pepper shakers, doing all those jobs. And then they rotate on a biweekly basis. So they're trying out those different jobs. And that's been really cool because I'm still there as a supervisor and a connection to the school, but they do have an actual kind of boss that is through SMSU. So that person is giving orders and telling them, and it's fun to see how they're responding to a different person. In the special ed world, I have my students for a couple years in a row, so they're pretty familiar with me. And so having a new person where they have to be able to ask them questions and build that confidence has been a really positive experience.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then those jobs they're doing, these aren't made up jobs for the kids coming from the high school. These are jobs that exist, that it's a very mutually beneficial partnership because they needed employees, you guys needed the work experience. And then another cool piece of that we should talk about is there's some partnership with the Private Industry Council in that too. Can you talk a little bit about that and how they are part of that?
Yep, so the Private Industry Council is a transition agency that works with students, a variety of students, but especially students that have disabilities. And so they're able to provide some pay for a paid work experience. So when the kids are over at SMSU, they're actually getting a paycheck for the time that they're there, which is fun because kind of like Carrie said, some of these students that are in the program don't always have the opportunities to work after school. And so they still want jobs. They still want something to put on a resume or a job application. And these are real life experiences that they can do. And it's kind of fun, they're over there and they look official, and so it's fun when the college students come up to them and ask them questions, oh, my dining card isn't working, can you help me? And the kids are like, oh,
I have no idea.
I'm new, but but it's fun because that's also such a real life skill. Then what do you do? How do you problem solve that situation? But overall, just a super positive experience, and we're grateful to PIC, and we're grateful to SMSU and to Brian Jones and the high school for supporting all these ideas because there is some really cool opportunities right now.
Yeah,
so
really
we're happy about them.
I think that another thing I think about with PIC is they don't only work with youth, they work with adults too. So there could be some opportunity for transition outside of high school.
And that's the best part with a lot of these transition agencies is they're a connection that continues on after school. So it's just starting the connection in high school so that just another way to make that transition after school easier for these students.
What kind of feedback do you guys get from community members or partners? We have a lot of partners involved in this, but what do they tell you?
Just at the high school, we have teachers they come up to me almost every day and say, this person delivered my order and they did such a great job, and they were kind and they were polite. And so this is great for my English learners who need those conversations with teachers in English, and so they're doing a great job. So almost daily I get some good thoughts from teachers.
Yeah.
Fun.
I would agree. I mean, I think the teachers get really excited. It's also fun when those students are going into the classroom and delivering. They're pretty popular because they're like, wait, aren't you going to bring me a drink? Or, where's mine? And they're kind of the experts on teaching, even our teachers how to run. We have credit card machines and to process payments. Yep. And so I think that's been a positive thing that the teachers have shared with us too is our kids, they know these jobs, they know the role they're doing. And so they're very confident in explaining, what our drinks are, our menu options are, and how to, do the different steps of payment. And that's just a fun experience. But our teachers have been really supportive, which really helps us out.
And the students are jealous because they don't get to be part of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the students would love for every day to have Tiger Cafe,
and my students would love to work every day at the Tiger Cafe.
Yes.
Yeah. So many things to fit in the day, but this is just awesome program. So thank you for joining me today, talking about this. Appreciate everyone watching and hearing. We have so many great things that happen, and we just love to share them with the community.
Yes,
so thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look forward.